This female conqueror of the South China Sea smashed the male-dominated pirating universe. We're talking about history's most successful pirate, Zheng Yi Sao. Welcome back to a new episode of HerStory, Unforgettable Women. In today's video, we're diving into turbulent, choppy waters. What was Zheng Yi Sao's hidden power that made her such a fierce force in the pirating world? Commanding a humongous fleet of over 80,000 pirates and 2,000 ships in her prime, she made pirating look like child's play. How did this 26-year-old defy the odds and rewrite the pirating code of conduct, immortalizing herself as the ultimate pirating pioneer of the seven seas? Let's find out. When you think of a pirate, you start picturing a groggy, gruff-looking man with a beard that hasn't been shaved in years, probably limping on one leg, yelling argh, and having a sassy parrot companion on their shoulders. Sure, the stereotypical pirate image is a gross misrepresentation of what actual pirates who sailed the seven seas were like. But one thing's for sure, we don't really think of female pirates that often now, do we? Were there ever any female pirates at all? Well, hold on, because the most prolific pirate in all of history was actually small, slim, and female. Zheng Yi Sao was born Sekyung in 1775 in Guangdong, South China. She was a member of the Tanka, an ethnically distinct group of boat-dwelling people often looked down upon by the dominant Han Chinese. Tanka males were known for being fishmongers, and the females were often sold into prostitution. While Sekyung's life before 1801, when she met Zheng Yi, or rather was captured by him, is not well documented, many historians claim that she managed to rise through the ranks on a Chinese floating brothel by trading secrets. Sekyung had a penchant for being a great listener and an excellent host. As such, many powerful men would divulge trade secrets with her, which she would then exchange with other more powerful men for a chance to gain more money and respect. She found a way to barter secrets in exchange for prestige and power. Eventually, she became known as the Dragon Lady and rose to the ranks of Madam in the Cantonese floating brothel. In 1801, when Zheng Yi's fleet captured Sekyung's floating brothel, he'd been commanding multiple ships for his cousin, Yung Shi's fleet. The family traces its roots back to the successful Ming clan. Zheng Yi took an immediate liking to the well-versed and sharp-witted Sekyung. He asked for her hand, and she replied, claiming that she'd accept but on one condition. He allotted half his crew to her. Zheng Yi agreed, and Sekyung became Zheng Yi Sao, the wife of Zheng Yi. They got married in 1801 or 1802 and stayed married until Zheng Yi's death in 1807. While their marriage was short-lived, it helped Zheng Yi Sao understand the ins and outs of piracy. In 1802, Zheng Shi was caught and executed by Nguyen forces in the town of Giangpin near Vietnam. What followed was a period of unrest in the South China Sea with a lot of infighting. And this is where Zheng Yi Sao's sharp mind came to the rescue. She encouraged him to stop the fighting and instead work with the other pirate fleets and form a confederation of sorts. It'd only been a year since the two had gotten married, and Zheng Yi Sao was considerably younger than him, almost by a decade. But Zheng Yi had seen in this short time that she was wise well beyond her years. Many believe that when Zheng Yi did call the 6 leading pirates of the South China Sea together, it was because of his wife's insistence. In fact, the terms of the peace treaty were also rumored to have been written down by Zheng Yi Sao herself. In any event, the leading pirates decided it was best that the ongoing war be put to an end, and the fleets joined together to form a confederation. The fleets were known by the color of their flags: red, black, blue, white, yellow, and purple. Zheng Yi commanded the largest fleet, the Red Flag Fleet, or should I say, Zheng Yi Sao was commanding the sails from the shadows. In 1807, Zheng Yi fell overboard during a typhoon off the Vietnamese coast at the age of 42. Did he really fall overboard because of a typhoon? Or was he pushed off the edge because someone else was gaining more and more control and needed him out of the way? I guess we'll never know. What we do know is that Zheng Yi Sao did not immediately become the commander of the Red Flag Fleet. In fact, Zheng Yi's adopted son, Zheng Bao, whom he'd actually abducted and forced into piracy at the age of 15, became the de facto leader of the fleet. This might have potentially been a strategic move on Zheng Yi Sao's part. Female pirates were virtually unheard of, and while she was respected as Zheng Yi's wife and a strong co-leader, the men in her fleet were probably unwilling to outright accept her at the helm. Again, Zheng Yi Sao put her mind to work and realized that with Zheng Yi's death, there was an imminent threat of more infighting. Together with Zheng Yi's nephew, Zheng Baoyang, and Zheng Shi's son, Zheng Yangbang, Zheng Yi Sao maintained her place with the Red Flag Fleet. In addition, she also met with the leader of the second largest faction of the Confederation, Guo Podai, of the Black Flag Fleet, and established his support for her and her crew. Her rule was at this time an informal one. However, delegates who met with the Red Flag Fleet to negotiate peace remarked that Zheng Bao would only ever agree to a term after Zheng Yi Sao gave her nod of approval. It wasn't long before people figured out that the two were actually lovers, possibly before Zheng Yi's death as well. By 1808, the Pirate Confederation had started to gain more power over the South China Sea. They lured and ambushed Lin Guo Liang of Human and destroyed his fleet of 35 ships, and Lieutenant Colonel Lin Fa of Weiyan Island. This cleared the way for the Confederation to enter the Pearl River. Zheng Yi Sao took an active part in battle for the first time in 1809, when Provincial Commander Sun Quan Mo, with his fleet of 100 ships, engaged in a battle with a smaller group of pirates, and they called on Zheng Yi Sao for help. She commanded the Red and the White Flag Fleet, while instructing Zheng Bao to charge with a fleet of 10 ships to outflank Sung from both sides, while another fleet would cut off the provincial commander from the rear. The Confederation won that battle. Within a few years, she tripled the fleet and ruled over even former enemies of her husband, commanded 80,000 sailors on nearly 2,000 ships, and far outnumbered men like Blackbeard or Francis Drake. Zheng Yi Sao would then command the Black Flag Fleet to lead the raid around Xinhui, commanding her way through a bloody campaign that saw the death of approximately 10,000 people, including the destruction of a large town not far from Human and killing 2,000 inhabitants. Quite literally, the Red Flag Fleet became known as such because Zheng Yi Sao had drenched the flag in the blood of everyone who crossed her. While some might remember her for being a ruthless leader, the truth is that Zheng Yi Sao might have been the first pirate in history to establish a code of conduct for her fleet. In fact, the thousands of deaths that occurred during her reign were all carried out by Zheng Bao's fleets, never her own. Her golden rules included no desertion, no thieving from the clan, and no violence against women. In fact, she adhered so strongly to her rules and beliefs that no unnecessary blood should be shed for her cause, that when she noticed the Portuguese fleet was gaining command during the Battle of the Tiger's Mouth, she negotiated peace terms with the Chinese government. The thing is, the government had realized that Zheng Yi Sao, the horror of the South China Sea, was becoming more and more of a problem for them. They'd initially sent out fleets to overpower her, but she was the one who ended up on top. Oh, and she managed to capture 63 of the enemy's ships while she was at it. After the events of 1809, the Chinese government had grown increasingly frustrated with the Pirate Confederation and decided the best way to stop them was to barricade them on all sides. The Guangdong government might have had the Portuguese on their side, but the truth was that Zheng Yi Sao had the sort of tactical expertise that no one could have predicted. They had numbers, sure, but Zheng Yi Sao had a bigger brain than all of them combined. Still, the fighting had gone on for far too long, and they needed to find a way to end it. The government realized They needed to find a way to work with the Chinese pirate if they ever wanted to establish control over the sea again, and offered her leniency if she surrendered. Well, at least that's what they wanted. Zheng Yi Sao wasn't willing to abandon her life as Empress of the Sea for nothing. She demanded money, rewards, and everything else imaginable for herself, Zheng Bao, and her men. The Guangdong government did her one better. Zheng Bao was allowed to retire with the rank of lieutenant and was given 24 ships under his control. Zheng Yi Sao was allowed to marry Zheng Bao, and all 20,000 of the Confederation's men were awarded with wine, pork, and money. From 1810 until 1822, Zheng Yi Sao traveled with Zheng Bao with his fleet through the Leizhou Peninsula. In 1813, she gave birth to the couple's only son, Zheng Yulin. After Zheng Bao's death in 1822 at the age of 36, Zheng Yi Sao returned to Guangdong with Zheng Yulin, where she lived a relatively peaceful life, operating an infamous gambling house. She died at the age of 68 in 1840, in a comfortable home with no one ever knowing that the sweet old lady once commanded the largest fleet the world had ever seen. Thanks for watching. Give this video a thumbs up, hit that notification bell, and subscribe for more exciting HerStory content just like this.